Welcome to the Own Your Life podcast, where our goal is to help bring hope, healing, and peace by sharing our experiences and inspiring you to own your life. Welcome back to the Own Your Life podcast. Today we have episode 13, and we're going to be talking about a very important topic, unplugging and recharging. And especially in this time with everything going on, it is very, very important that we learn how to, if we don't know already, how to unplug and recharge effectively, because I feel like the stress is definitely overwhelming, if not daily, definitely weekly. And that it's just a really important thing for us to do to make sure that we recharge ourselves. Because if we don't, then, that's just a recipe for disaster and can cause a lot of issues if you don't take care of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that we always ask ourselves is, how much daily are you consuming of social media? And I think it's a relative question, because let's say it's only an hour of social media a day. Let's say that, and you take a few days off during the month. Let's say it's only 28 hours a month. That's a whole day of your life, a month plus some, that you're consuming of social media. And I think that when you can really put it into context like that you're really losing, let's say 12 days of your life a year over social media, that's crazy talk. And when you can really put that into perspective for your life, then that is a whole nother ballgame. And
the reality of it is it's a lot more than that. So I know that, at least for me, I've definitely spent more than an hour on social media per day lately. And it's something that I'm going to be working on putting more blockers on, because it's too easy to get to. It's too easy to look at. If you're bored, places, still aren't fully open around us. So it's like, oh, it's something to do. And even if you're spending 2 hours a day, which I would also say is on the low side, I think without looking at any research, I would say the average number of hours people spend on social media a day has to be, I would say it's pretty confidently, it has to be between 4 and 8 hours a day, if not more. And I know that sounds crazy, but even if you are at a workplace and not at home, I feel like that's a pretty easy thing to go to, is just look at your phone. I know that when I used to have an actual workplace, a lot of people were on social media all the time and not doing their work like they're supposed to, or maybe they got it done sooner and they were just checking Facebook, checking Twitter, Instagram. And I feel like, so if we're spending 4 to 8 hours a day on this, if not more, especially on the weekends when you don't have to work, that can be very damaging and very, very draining. And I know, like, for part of what we do with social media, obviously we post things on there for our business, for Own Your Life Co. We post things like that. So I do need to be on it for a business aspect. Honestly, if I didn't have to do it for that, I think I would block it completely, just because I know how much of a time suck it can be for me. And if I wasn't posting anything for our podcast or for our business or anything, then I probably wouldn't even use it.
Well, and also, it's kind of scary how much they know about you and your patterns. For instance, we watched The Creepy Line a while back, and The Creepy Line talks about Facebook.
Be careful, Matt. We might be censored.
I understand. And when we were watching that stuff, though, it was kind of crazy, is that they said that if with 200 likes on Facebook, Facebook knows you better than your spouse, because it monitors your hovering patterns. It monitors what you like, what you don't like, everything to do with it. So if that's the case, then they know how to attract you back in and keep you on there longer. So that's the whole point of that, is that if they can keep you longer, then, you're obviously not being as productive as what you can be outside of that.
Yeah. And I think it's just important knowing all of this and just realizing your patterns of, the kind of times that you are spending on social media, or you realize you're going down all these rabbit holes and you look at the time, you're like, oh my gosh, how did that happen? We do think for unplugging and recharging, obviously it's very important to shut that off. So ask yourself, how often are you looking at social media? And if you don't know, look at your screen report, see what that tells you, because it does break it down into categories, and you can see how much time you're spending on social media. And so if that's a problem for you, you can shut that off. You can put blockers on your phone so that those apps don't work, at certain times of the day, especially if, there's certain times maybe on your lunch break or whenever you're more prone to looking at it. Look into, putting blockers on your phone at those times so that you don't do it.
Absolutely. And for the second question that we had for you guys here is that, do you have a designated time where you don't have your phone on you at all during the day? I know sometimes there's been multiple times where I've just left my phone in the car when I came in so that I actually was able to engage with Ashley and with Cameron, so I wasn't like on my phone as soon as I got home. So I wanted to make sure that I was present when I actually walked in the door. Do you have, like, let's say if you're sitting down for dinner with the family, do you have an opportunity to just put the phones in a box or something like that and, just kind of let that be and actually enjoy the dinner and not have anybody on their phones during dinner or whatever the case may be when you get home? Because I think that is important to make sure that you just put the devices away for a little bit, because there are no emergencies, for the most part. I'm not saying there's not emergencies, because there is emergencies in life, but for the most part, you can get back to whoever's texting you or whoever is messaging you or whatever it is at a later time. And it's not going to really hurt that relationship at all.
Yeah, I love that. I love having a specific day to unplug. If you don't already, I do know somebody, a good friend of mine, and she has chosen to take Sundays off and unplug from social media, from her phone on Sundays, and spend time with her family, because that's what really matters to her. And she said it's made a huge difference in her life. And I've definitely thought about that as well. However, the issue with our business and with maybe that's not an issue, but being a realtor, I can't turn my phone off. I can't completely unplug as much as I would love to, because I might miss something really important. So unfortunately, that's kind of like an on all the time thing, but I can specifically, set aside some hours, maybe not an entire day, but hours that I don't check my phone, look at it. I know a good rule that Matt and I do is when we go out to eat, we want to spend time with each other no matter what. So even if it's, supposed to be like a special date celebrating something, or just going out to eat at, a Panera or something, that we leave our phones upside down if they are on the table, if not put away, so that we are not tended to look at them, to be distracted, because we want to spend that time with each other and with our family. And even when Cameron lived with us, we had that rule, the same rule as well, that nobody could have their phones out, while we were eating, because we were going to spend time as a family.
Yeah, I knew that was a huge difference maker for us too, because this is an opportunity for us to solve maybe some family stuff that's going on. Maybe gives an opportunity to really dig deep. And, at that time, he was a younger teenager, and, there's as younger teenagers, a lot of them don't want to talk to you anyways. And now I have you cornered for a certain amount of time. So I'm going to take advantage of it. I always love the car rides to the baseball games with him, because it was a car ride. I took his phone away from him and made him talk to me. And at the time, I don't think he really liked it. But, now I think he was like, that was awesome, because I really asked him the questions that he wanted to kind of run away from a little bit. So, for another question to kind of ask yourself is that, have you unsubscribed to things that don't bring you joy in your life? For this one, this is one that I'm still working on, because I get a ton of junk emails and I haven't unsubscribed to all the emails. So sometimes I'll wake up and I'll have 50 emails in my email box. And, Ashley's always on me about that. She's like, oh, why don't you unsubscribe? And I'm like, well, I will eventually. But at the same time is that, have you unsubscribed to stuff on maybe Instagram or Facebook or anything like that, that is just like, every time you see it, is like, man, I wish that would change. Especially right now. There's a lot of stuff on Facebook and Instagram, any type of social media outlet that is, maybe, for the election or for this certain, group or whatever it is. And it's just honestly just hurting you emotionally, and you just need to kind of detach from it. And that's tough too, because you want to be informed, but you don't need to be too informed. And we're kind of balancing that right now with some stuff with our friends and with family members and stuff like that. Because everybody has their own opinions, and you want to make sure everybody feels heard and understood. At the same time, you have to help yourself emotionally too, and kind of remain on that end of it to make sure that you're taken care of from your end.
Absolutely. And all I'm going to say about that is the snooze for 30 days button is fabulous. I'm glad they have that. And there's people I love, and I just, I don't want to think anything different than I already think about them. So I snooze them. So anyways, another question to ask yourself about unplugging is what relaxes you? What are healthy things that you can do to recharge? Really think about those things. And it's different for everybody. Some people, want to be left alone. Other people are recharged when they're in a group, when they're with more people, when they're with family, maybe with their friends, that is something that recharges them. So it's just something to think about. What really relaxes you when you just feel totally calm, peaceful, unplugged, and just recharging yourself. I think that's an important question, as well as, how do you currently unplug? If you do, if you don't, then you need to start. But if you do, what are you doing? And is it working? And if it is working, obviously keep it. Is there anything you need to change about it? Something you need to do more of? Especially if you get, drained quicker than you used to. I know, obviously 2020 has been a hard year for everybody, whether it's, physically or mentally or emotionally or even spiritually. And, you might need to recharge more than you used to just to be able to keep up with everything going on. And also, looking at what you're currently doing, what do you need to stop doing? What is not serving you? I think are all very important questions to ask yourself so that you can, unplug and recharge effectively.
Yeah. And I know that for me, especially a few years ago, the only time that I got to recharge was when we would travel out of the country. And we would make sure, as far as family is concerned, that, they would have our, hotel or whatever. But we actually turned our phones off and really enjoyed, we went to Punta Cana and we went to also a couple other places. But, just getting to recharge. At that time, it was very beneficial for us in our relationship. And we saw a bunch of people walking around with their phones on Wi-Fi and everything else and, constantly on their phones, but it really wasn't helping anybody at that time because, if you can't actually take in what your partner is actually giving you at that time, especially in, a beautiful island setting. Do you really need to be on your phone the whole time? Because at that time we were like, why would people, not be paying attention to the ocean, to the environment, to everything going on around them and just really invest in their relationship? And we just didn't understand at that time. And it was kind of difficult for us to understand. Why would you spend so much money not to even invest in your relationship and just being on social media the whole time?
Yeah, that was crazy. It happened multiple places that we went. I know our first place we went out of the country was St. Lucia for our honeymoon. Mm-hmm. And we saw so many people on their phones. And it was like, you spent literally thousands of dollars to be here. And you are looking at your phone when in front of you is a beautiful view of the ocean. And you just hear the breeze. And obviously there's people hanging out, but it was relatively quiet and peaceful. And you're not even paying attention to that. You are so glued to your phone that you're not even enjoying what you paid to be at. It just blows my mind. I feel like we see that in a lot of other things too, like people at concerts, people at movies, whatever. You're paying money to be somewhere and enjoy something, and you're not even enjoying it because you're too attached to your phone.
Yeah, which is kind of also scary, really, in all reality, because if you constantly have to seek approval from other people and to actually have that attachment to your phone, that's a problem in itself. And it's something that is really scary because if you can't get the approval from yourself, then you're never going to get it from everybody else because you have to love yourself first. And, that's a part of unplugging. That's a part of recharging because you have to love yourself. You have to really want to invest in yourself. And I've heard it say that, every dollar you spend on yourself, invest in yourself, you're going to get 4 times the return on the backside of it after you have invested that into yourself. And I know that has been true for us, especially in all the personal growth and development we've done with each other even too. I think it's maximized our relationship, has maximized our lives in multiple areas.
For sure. And along with, just unplugging and recharging, maybe you don't know how. Maybe you haven't really taken the time out to do that. And And if that's you, then I would encourage you to do that now, to make a list. What are things that you really enjoy doing? And maybe you haven't thought like, oh, when I do this, it relaxes me, but make a list and think about the things that you enjoy. That would be a start. And I've got some examples. If you can't think of anything, maybe it's going for a walk, going for a hike, being out in nature. I know for me, that is a huge thing. I love being outdoors, especially when it's a little cooler. Finally, it's getting a little cooler here in North Carolina. Matt's laughing because I am not a summer person. Sorry for all you summer lovers. Summer is my least favorite season ever. Fall weather is my favorite, and sometimes winter if you're in North Carolina, because it doesn't really go below like 35, which is fabulous. But anyways, also, reading a really good book, taking an Epsom salt bath. That is very helpful for me, at least. I do that more in the winter. I feel like it feels nice to take a hot bath when it's cold outside. Being outside, like I said before, listening to music, listening to some peaceful music. Maybe it's artwork for you. Maybe it's drawing, painting, coloring, grounding, which I know is a recent fad, but it does really work. So grounding is when you're walking around outside barefoot so that your feet actually have contact with the dirt, not like on concrete or anything, but with the dirt, with the grass, that the electrical impulses from the earth affect your body and can calm you down. There's a lot more on that, but that's kind of a brief overview of grounding. And with that, also yard work and gardening. I'm not really a huge gardener. I don't really have a green thumb. I can keep dogs alive, but not necessarily plants. So I am not really into that. But I know for a lot of people, they love working in the yard. That helps them calm down. They love that. Maybe turning technology off, like we said before, turn your phones off, turn your computers off, maybe have a time limit on that so that you can really enjoy, being with the people that you're with or just being by yourself. Maybe it's meditating, maybe it's doing breathing exercises, anything like that. Those are obviously not all inclusive. There's more than that, but that's a good start to figure out, which of these things really relax me and allow me to unplug.
Yeah. And I think that a part of all this too is the reason why we're kind of talking about all this is that, I know that as there are some people out there that when you're connected to everything all the time, that means you're disconnected from yourself and from the present moment. And I think that when you know that you're disconnected from the present moment, it's really hard to help anybody in your circle. It's really hard to help your family. It's really hard to help yourself. It's really hard to help anybody because you're so disconnected, because you're so connected to everything that you can't really make a decision on the present moment. And the present moment is so important. And it's very difficult for us, both of us actually, because we're both have, gifts and strengths and talents, especially in futuristic. It's hard to be so focused on the present because we're always thinking about something in the future. And that's not good either. But at the same time, if we continue to be disconnected, we'll never, ever enjoy the present. And that is the most precious thing that we can possibly have because the present is so important right now.
Yeah, I'm definitely guilty of that. I know you just said it, that we both have futuristic tendencies and that can work for or against us. Obviously, it's great to be able to foresee things that we want to make possible in the future and have dreams and things like that. But it's also important not to miss the present, not to miss what's going on right now. I actually just finished reading Tim Tebow's This Is the Day. Fabulous book. Matt had read it a while ago, but I just read it. I actually read it in like 4 days. But he's talking all about this is the day. Today is the day, not tomorrow, because tomorrow's not guaranteed. You may not wake up tomorrow. We don't wish that for anybody, of course. But we are not guaranteed tomorrow. And then thinking about the past is kind of pointless because you can't change it. Obviously, learn from it and grow from it, but to dwell on it and to be upset about it is really a waste of time because you cannot go back and change what happened. You can only control what's going on today, right now. This is the day. So focusing on the present is very, very important. And I feel like, we can get so wound up in thinking about the future and being worried and afraid. And I know last podcast, we talked all about being afraid that, worrying. I heard it said that somebody had mentioned that most of the stuff that you worry about will not even come to pass ever. So it's really a waste of your time. It's really, stressing yourself out for no reason. And I know that, we've had such an unpredictable year on so many levels that people can be very worried and very fearful for the future. And I think that, it's important that we just focus one day at a time, and we focus on today, because this is the day that we're living right now. And this message is as much for myself as it is for everyone listening. But I think that, like Matt said, we really cannot pour out of an empty cup if we are constantly, expending ourselves and not recharging. That we have to fill ourselves up first before we can give to others.
That even goes along with multitasking even too, is that, just small little side note here. A lot of people think that they are excellent at multitasking. And honestly, it's really just doing all those jobs halfway, because we're not great at multitasking. And I know that I used to think that I was the best multitasker ever. And I came to realize that I was kind of short on all ends. But that's okay. I mean, and that's the point of this, is that it's all growing and changing and learning about yourself. Because at the end of the day, if you can't learn all about yourself, then how can you help other people, and how can you learn about, maybe your significant other or your family? Because that's just as important, to learn everybody's tendencies around you, so you can actually help people, and help people with their blind spots, and help you with yours by discovering other people's blind spots even. And, Ashley is pointing at herself right now for the multitasking thing, but she is amazing at multitasking, side note, but
not always.
But, she is amazing at doing multiple tasks, but she's not amazing at doing multitasking.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because like you said, I could start like 7 things, and then how many of them actually get finished, or get finished even in a timely manner? Like, I can complete them all, but if I had just done one thing, then finish it, next thing, finish it, next thing, finish it, I would have been done sooner and more effective than I was with, let me do this, and this. And let me stop doing this to run over to this, to start this, and then do that. It doesn't work. And I hope some of you guys can relate with that. I feel like in my brain, I feel like I'm being more productive, but then at the end of it, it's like, I was really not that productive at all. And honestly, that stresses me more out than just doing one thing at a time. And I've had to work on that. I struggled with that a lot. About 3 years ago, I noticed I was doing that at work, that I was trying to answer emails and answer the phone and work on other things. I was a property manager, and work on other things like within our system to set stuff up, for new leases and whatnot. And like, I didn't really finish anything until I stopped myself and made myself do one thing at a time. And it was like driving me crazy. So that stuff is real. So you got to be mindful of that as well. If you are trying to multitask, that it can actually, stress you out more. At least in my case, that's what it did.
Yeah. And I think that's a part of all this, is that, that's a part of honestly unplugging and really recharging. Is trying not to multitask all the time too. That's a part of it, because you have to unplug from other tasks to get something done too. It's a part of that. And we just want to try and help you guys and bring you guys, like we always say, hope, healing, and peace in multiple areas of your life, not just one. Yeah.
And the last thing I want to touch on is just really another important reason for unplugging and recharging, just linked to stress and cortisol. So cortisol is produced when you are stressed out, and that is that's the fight or flight stress. So you can actually be stuck in fight or flight mode if you have so much cortisol in your body. And I know this because this happened to me. I actually went through extensive doctors and whatnot, and even like spiritual therapy and stuff. And I was stuck in fight or flight mode to where I couldn't even like digest things properly. It impacted my sleep, my energy, my fatigue, thinking clearly. I had extreme brain fog. So, stress is real. It has real effects on the body that can really harm you. So it's just important. This is why it's so important to unplug and recharge, because you don't want to be stuck in that mode. You don't want to build up so much cortisol that you have these issues. And if you have these issues now, maybe it is because you're so stressed out. I saw somebody said that they were so stressed out, and when they finally started to calm down and do things that relax them, they lost 7 pounds overnight because they were that stressed out. Their body was just hanging on to everything. Now, obviously, I'm not advising that's going to happen for everybody, but that's just an example of how stress had affected her body so bad to where when she finally started to let go of things, that's what happened.
Yeah. I mean, and this is something that we've worked on for years, and it's not going to come overnight. And this is something that you guys are really going to have to think about and really write down and really figure out what's going on in your particular life and everyday life, because it's easy to say from one end of, oh, this is easy. This is what I need to fix right away. And that could happen for a few of you, and it could take a little bit longer for other folks. I mean, for us, it's taken a while just to figure out, for instance, that whole thing with Ashley's fight or flight mode, and just figuring out what was the stressors and what was going wrong and what happened. I mean, it was a lot of self-evaluation, a lot of doctors, a lot of different things going on there. And, for us, it's been a journey, and that's what this is all about. It's about a journey, and we're not perfect. We're never going to be perfect, and we're always learning and growing. And that's why we always ask you guys to comment and share this and do everything we can to try and connect with you guys, because we can learn just as much from you guys as you guys can learn from us. And that's what we're excited about. And we appreciate everything you guys are commenting and sharing and on all of our different platforms. We appreciate it.
Yes. Thank you all for listening. And please share this with somebody who really needs to unplug and recharge, and just to, get rid of some stress in their life, because this will be very helpful for them as well as you guys. So thank you again. We appreciate you guys. Please like this, share, subscribe, rate and review us. And until next time, own your life, because your life is your responsibility. Thank you all for listening. If this added value to you, please click subscribe and rate and review us. You can also find us at Own Your Life Co. on Instagram and Facebook, and ownyourlifeco.com. And as always, own your life, because your life is your responsibility.